Hey everybody, this is Scott Ogren. I'm the author of the 28-Day Nutritional Cleansing course. And this month, quite a few people have started the cleansing program, and so I've gotten numerous questions as come up, especially for brand new people who are brand new to the concept of nutritional cleansing, which is also just really anytime you're changing a diet to a very simple diet in order to get rid of uh, problems that that are going on in your body. So two things I want to talk about real quick. One, it never ceases to amaze me, and I don't think it ever ceases to amaze people who do the cleansing program, how quickly the body starts to get rid of pain, inflammation, skin problems, digestive disorders, and stuff just simply by changing their nutritional intake to something that's a lot simpler and easier for the body to digest. That is always a eye-opening experience for people, and it is. It's just the nature of it's because we're not taught about it in kids. I think in a more at some point in our culture, we're going to immediately know that diet problem, diet health solution a lot better. But for now, it's kind of a new concept, and so when it happens to you when you go through a cleansing program, it's always a shock. You thought that the pain in your elbow was from playing tennis for 30 years, and you just thought that's the way it's going to go, and then you change your diet and the pain goes away, or the rosacea that you've had since you were in your 20s goes away. It's just mind-blowing experience. So if you're in that process or considering being in that process of going through a cleansing program, a nutritional change, one of the things that is a skill you have to learn is how you deal with cravings. Cravings being the food you are used to. And oftentimes, in some cases, people are dealing with cravings of foods they've eaten since they lived at their house with their parents. Their grandparents ate those foods, your parents ate those foods, and of course you ate those foods because they were either just considered that's what you eat, or in some cases they're actually in general a healthy thing for you to eat, considered healthy, nutritious, good for you. It can also be, cravings for stuff like, well, I go to McDonald's 3 times a week and I'm craving those fries. But in any case, it doesn't really matter whether it was good for you, supposedly good for you, or it actually wasn't very good for you. It doesn't matter if it's drugs or if it's nuts, like fried nuts or raw nuts. You're giving your body a break to find out if it is okay for your particular body at your particular age, at this particular point, after decades of eating those things, if it's okay for your body or if it's causing trouble. So by removing those substances, you will oftentimes go through cravings, really, really strong, desires for those foods. And so there's a couple of things you can do. First off, the most important thing you can do during a cleanse, and I write about it in every single chapter of the course, is rehydration. And all of my students all get a rehydration jug. You can't just write down, go, okay, I'm gonna drink more water for the next 28 days. It doesn't work that way. It's so important that you actually have to get some kind of a jug. I'm 6'8", so I have a giant one, but you can use one that's 3 quarts or whatever it is. You fill it up every morning during your cleansing program. You fill it up, and then you carry it with you wherever you go on your commute to work, to your workstation, when you're doing your homework, you're in the gym, whatever it is. That thing just stays with you, or at least it stays in the car, because you have to know that at the end of the day, really by 6 o'clock that night, so you're not waking up in the middle of the night peeing all day, you have to have drunk all that water. And by doing that, that's going to ease the cravings, ease the food. Addictions is a little too strong of a word, but that desire for those things that you're trying to change and morph out of. So water's going to be one of the first keys. So if you get a craving during the day, you reach for water. The craving oftentimes doesn't go away for 10, 12, 15 minutes, but it will. Just put your mind at something else and it will start to go away. The second thing is to become aware of a biological fact, and that we talk about that in the program as well, is that all of our cells are constantly going through a birth, living, death cycle. Your 100 trillion cells in your body are not, that you're not born with them and then at 96 years old they all die when you die. That's not it at all. In fact, some of the material in your body have a life death cycle of as short as 10 days or 20 days or 2 months or 4 months or 60 days on average. And one of the shortest ones is your taste buds. With every 3 weeks, your taste buds are born and die, born and die. They're like those, moths, that only live for a few days. The cool thing about that is that the new set of cells have the latest set of habits. So as you are changing your food intake and you've got all those cravings, God, I usually have a candy bar right at noon today. I've had a candy bar since I was 16 years old, and now you're asking me to stop eating a candy bar. Well, if you do that for a period of time and you are flushing your cells, you're going to notice that in 2 and 3 weeks, those new set of cells don't crave that kind of really desensitized set of cells that you had for the decades before. That's how fast of a turnaround it can go, how fast of a change it can happen in your body. So just know that by changing it and going through the couple of weeks of not being comfortable in your own skin because you're eating different foods and you're craving those other things, just know that in 2 or 3 weeks, that's going to become the norm. Biologically, it's going to become the norm. Okay. The other one I want to talk about is that most of the things that we crave are either overly sweet, overly oily, overly salty. Those are the things that create the internal chemistry that make us feel good. I'm sure they increase dopamine and serotonin and all those those drugs, those feel good drugs that our internal pharmacy is creating when we eat. And they're also the things that we tend to go to when we're going slightly unconscious, meaning when we go through an emotionally stressful moment, thought, period of our life, we go for those things that are rich in those substances. So you got to acknowledge that. And so I'm going to suggest that in your daily intake, in the meals, and we talk about that in the, we've got over 200 recipes in the program, every once in a while, put in a lot of extra oil. Oil is good for the body, even during a cleanse, especially if it's really, really high quality oil. So you can actually, it almost acts as a salve, or a salve, however you pronounce that. It acts as sort of this relaxant in the body that you oftentimes are craving. If you're like, God, I could really go through a quart of chips right now, potato chips. Well, go to the refrigerator, take out some brown rice that you cooked the morning before or something, and add some oil, heat it up, and then add a bunch of oil, then add a bunch of salt, and really let that become your version of whatever it is that you're craving. So do that. The same thing too with sweets. A lot of the recipes that we have are rich in what you would call the sweet vegetables. Long, heavy roasted acorn squash, or the kabuka squash, or the onions, that are slowly simmered in the foods and the soups and the dishes and stuff. All those have an increase in their natural sugars. And again, over the 3-week time, remember, everything's changing. All the cells are being born and dying. And after a while, that sweetness will become the sweetness that you're really craving for, instead of the quart of ice cream or whatever it is that you sat down with. The last thought I want to have before I end this video is this concept of desensitization. all cravings, all habitual use of foods that become unconscious. And I'm going to put drugs in the same category: alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, whether it's oxycodone or I don't know, your 3 glasses of wine at night, or potato chips. Whatever it is, whatever is the craving that's become unconscious that you've just been doing over and over and over and over and over again, what has happened in the body is that you have become desensitized to the power of that particular ingredient. And where you will really notice that desensitization, and by the way, I'll talk to anybody who has ever gotten hooked on some, whether it was, innocently enough, they broke their hand or something and they were given some oxycodone or some form of opiates or something, and they were like, wow, that really takes the pain away. And then all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're still finding ways to keep on that oxycodone. That's never been one of mine. I hate opioids. I've only had them 3 times in my life, and they made me feel horrible. However, I can be addicted to other things in life. I'm very aware of those I have that personality type. So with that, in case, you'll see that after a while, people become completely desensitized. They have to take more and more and more in order to get that sensation. And it's really good for you to know that that's what's taken place. And you'll be able to experience that at the end of your cleanse, or even 3 weeks into it. And the way you can do that, let's just take potato chips. Let's say that's your go-to thing that you just, oh, they're so good. Or you could say, chocolate or something like that. Really sweet, really, and you realize it's out of control. All right, well, let's use not only that, we'll talk about wine, because I'm currently working with someone that wine is their go-to. It's their potato chips. After 2 or 3 weeks, go try some of that. Take 1 potato chip and put it in your mouth, and you will have a complete different sensation to 1 potato chip than you did to an entire bag before. If your go-to, your desensitized version of that is, say, ice cream, after a month, after your program is over and you've experienced all the changes in your body, clear skin, people will comment, your eyes look like they're beaming through your face, everything, you just look lit up, you've got less pain in your joints, everything's working better, your sleep is better, all those things that occur during a cleansing program. Go have a scoop of ice cream. Invariably, you will be amazed at how fatty it is and how it smells. And it's not necessarily a great smell. And in the case of wine, you cannot believe how acidic it is. It can polish off a meal. It can be very, very good. But you used to sit down and have 3 glasses. So what? Hanging out at night in front of the TV? All of a sudden, because you'd become desensitized to that thing. So what cleansing does is it brings you back into a state of balance. It just does. And all of the extremes that we've been eating and doing and tasting and playing with, suddenly we become aware of how extreme they are. They taste extreme. They have an extreme effect. So I hope those things will give you an idea of how to weather this period where you do have those cravings. The last thing I will say, and that's just a long enough video for today, is that when you have a craving, acknowledge it. Actually stand up and say, wow, this is about to overtake my behavior. I was about to go to the refrigerator, go to the pantry, go downtown to grab and buy that thing, or stop at the 7-Eleven, or do that thing, or crack open that 4th beer. I was about to do that. And you have to learn to sit with the sensation, because the whole thing about breaking habit is to become conscious of what the hell we were doing for, in some cases, years and years and years. And those are the things oftentimes that are extremely detrimental to our health, our skin, our digestion, our longevity. All right, hope this is helpful. Make any comments, any questions, just ask below. Thank you. Thanks for seeing this.